Somewhere in your house tonight, there's a predator asleep on the floor. 42 teeth made for tearing meat. Its great-great-grandparents hunted in packs, ran down prey far bigger than you, and could pick up your scent from a mile off. For almost the entire run of human history, hearing this animal's relatives out in the dark was a very good reason to be afraid. And in a few hours, it's going to roll onto its back so you can rub its stomach. So how did the most dangerous animal on the Ice Age landscape end up sleeping in our beds and moping by the door when we leave? The stock answer, "We tamed it," isn't really what happened. Nobody sat down and designed the dog. There was no plan. The dog is more or less an accident. And here's the part that gets me. The wolves may have started it themselves, long before any human noticed what was going on. This didn't happen in one clean step, and it isn't one story. It's a stack of accidents, one landing on top of the next, over tens of thousands of years. Stay with me, because by the end you'll see how these animals rewrote their own DNA just to keep eating beside us, how they tapped into a chemical in your brain that's meant for your own kids, and the part I'm saving for last. Dogs grew a muscle in their face that wolves don't have, and its entire job is to work on you. It all starts with garbage, scraps by a fire. Picture the world somewhere between 20 and 40,000 years ago. People live in small bands, maybe 20 to 50 of them, always moving, hunting, going hungry, freezing through the winters. Most hunts come back with nothing. A bad break, a leg, or an infection can be the end of you. And just past the light of every camp, wolves are watching. Here's what actually mattered, though. We're messy eaters. Even when food was scarce, hunter-gatherers left a trail behind them. Bones, gristle, hides, half-finished carcasses. To a wolf, a human camp wasn't a threat. It was a walking supply of easy calories. So they crept in closer, and natural selection took it from there. The bold ones that rushed the camp caught a spear. The ones too scared to come near never got the food and slowly lost the race. But a handful in the middle, a little calmer, a little braver, a shade more curious, could linger at the edges and eat without dying for it. They weren't brave, exactly. They were just born a bit less afraid of us than the rest, and that small quirk of temperament was about to remake an entire species. We know how quickly this can happen, because a scientist more or less proved it by accident. In 1959, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev took wild silver foxes and bred only the calmest ones, generation after generation. No training, no tricks. He selected for one thing: not being afraid of people. Within a few decades, the foxes were behaving like dogs, wagging their tails, whining for attention, licking hands. And then came the part nobody had asked for. Their bodies changed. Ears flopped over. Tails curled. White patches appeared in their coats. Snouts shortened. Faces went rounder and softer. Belyaev never selected for any of that. He only ever kept the friendly ones, and cute came along for the ride. Biologists have a name for the whole bundle: domestication syndrome. It shows up anytime you breed an animal for calm. Now take that same process, set it at the edge of an Ice Age camp, remove the scientist, and let it run for thousands of years on survival alone. The friendliest wolves ate the most, stayed closest, raised the most pups. Little by little, the proto-dogs stopped looking like something out of a nightmare and started looking like company. There's a phrase for this: survival of the friendliest. The wolves that became dogs didn't win by being tougher. They won by being easy to have around. Some researchers think they'd already begun taming themselves before we ever bred a single one on purpose, and we clocked the upside fast. A wolf hanging around the fire was an early warning system with legs. It heard the bear before we did. It caught strangers on the wind. It could find game we'd have walked straight past. That's why the dog is the first animal we ever domesticated. Before sheep, before goats, before farming itself, dogs were curled up next to us while we were still hunting mammoths, long before writing, cities, or metal tools. We didn't tame them so we could farm. They were already part of the group by the time farming turned up. They didn't come out of civilization. They helped make it. Then, thousands of years later, we did something new. We started farming. Our diet swung off meat and onto grain, and for an animal descended from a straight carnivore, that should have been a serious problem. So the dog edited its own genome to keep up. A 2013 paper in Nature found that dogs carry far more copies of a starch-digesting gene than wolves do. Right down at the level of their DNA, to eat what we ate. Wolves stayed wolves. Dogs rewired their own digestion just to stay at the table. That's how much this animal wanted to be near us. But the deepest change wasn't in the body at all. It was in the bond. Look your dog in the eyes and let it look back, and something fires in both of you. A 2015 study, also in Science, found that this kind of mutual gaze releases oxytocin in the dog and the person at the same moment. That's the same hormone that floods a new mother's brain when she looks at her baby. Wolves don't do this. Even wolves raised by people from birth don't set off that loop. Only dogs. Somewhere along the way, they wired themselves straight into the part of us built for loving our own children. Your dog isn't just near you. It's running on the same circuit as family. Which brings me to the oddest thing of all. The bit I promised. You know the look. Puppy eyes. Those little inner eyebrows going up until you've melted before you've decided to. You've probably always assumed it's just an expression. In 2019, a team dissected the faces of dogs and wolves, and they found something strange. Dogs have a small muscle above the eye, the one that lifts that inner brow, that wolves basically don't. It showed up in dogs, and only dogs, after the split from wolves. And what it does is pull a face humans can't refuse. It lands on almost exactly the expression a human baby makes, and when a dog makes it, the instinct to protect kicks in before we get a say. So we didn't only tame the wolf. Without meaning to, without even noticing, we bred an animal that grew a dedicated muscle for reaching into our heads and pulling the look after me lever. Every time you cave to those eyes, that isn't really a decision you're making. We thought we were the ones doing the domesticating. Turns out they'd been quietly working on us the whole time. Maybe that's why this goes deeper than useful can explain. In Germany, archaeologists uncovered a grave about 14,000 years old. Inside it, a man, a woman, and a dog laid carefully to rest beside them. That dog had been badly sick as a puppy, and it lived for weeks afterward, which means people who were fighting to survive one of the harshest worlds imaginable spent food and water and warmth nursing a sick animal that gave them nothing in return. That's not a tool. It's not a burglar alarm. It's attachment. 14,000 years ago, someone loved a dog enough to be buried with it. So look again at the predator asleep on your floor. The teeth. The paws. The wolf still folded up inside every husky and every chihuahua. None of it was designed. No plan, no invention, no lightning bolt moment. Just scraps by a fire, a few wolves a little less spooked by the dark than their packmates, and tens of thousands of years quietly turning fear into the closest partnership our species has ever had. Tonight, your dog is going to fall asleep somewhere near you, carrying a body descended from monsters, a gut we reshaped, a brain patched into ours, and a face that evolved for the single purpose of getting you to love it. It has no idea any of this happened. You do now. If that rearranged something in your head, good. That's what this channel is for. There's a video on screen right now about another piece of hidden wiring you've been carrying your whole life. Go pull that thread next, and hit subscribe so the next one comes and finds you.